What's up, world? What's up, Zion? It's Prince Easy coming at you again, once more, as usual. I do have a couple slides that I want to share with you in this fine day that we're having. And of course, before we get to those, I want to issue a disclaimer, right, for all the copywritten material that's going to be shared in this year post. So, let's get to it, right? So, as people now are slowly finding out what is what, I hope they have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, right? Because this is the type of truth that is needed right about now. Right about now. Restore everything. And of course, that has to go hand in hand with admittance of the crimes and whatnot. But again, restoration. This is the root cause of that entire crisis over there. And the truth is the only thing that will resolve the confusion, the truth. So, again, I say again and again, they always do things to mirror the other side. This is quite interesting. To cross with my research, people talk about magnetic fields and vortices, right? For instance, the whole vortex situation, right? Why is it shaped like that, right? Why is it shaped like that, like a hourglass, right? Or the number 8 that we kept talking about the other day, right? Why is it shaped like that, right? Or an orange. Why is it spherical, right? And this here photography, right? The Korean, they call it, right? The Soviets apparently were deep into this research, and this type of photography basically showed something really interesting, right? So they had a leaf, right, and they chopped the edge of the leaf, right, to basically deform it. But under this photography, the part of the leaf that was chopped off is still visible. And basically, if the fields were acting from within or from the inside, what is keeping them from being larger? Why don't we have an orange the size of a small car? It's not that the potential is not there, it's not that the resources are not there. They can be provided, but that cannot be achieved. Why is that? Well, I believe I believe that there are two forces, right? There are two forces acting against each other. That's why we don't get humongous fruit, right? One field is acting from the inside, pushing out, and the other is acting from the outside, pushing in, right? And the skin of the said orange being the contact point, right? It goes the same even to people, right? Do we go from within or from outside, right? because there are two forces acting upon each other. But again, this photography was disappeared for some reason. I hope it comes back. So the French cannot catch a break. Here they have another scandal that I knew was brewing a long time ago. That's why I gave that warning to Madagascar. These people are not willing to share. They don't have that capacity. They want it all. So it's not that they could not make a deal. Nah. They are crafty. They believe that they are crafty and they can do whatever they want. Madagascar declared a security attaché of the French embassy in Antananarivo persona non grata over the alleged plot to destabilize the Indian Ocean island. Right? You remember that mineral rush that we talked about a long time ago, and I said you better buckle up. Right? I remember it was a French company. Right? And I believe in the same video we talked about the French islands that have their the French believe that their colonies still. It's sickening. Right? The official was accused of, alongside a former French serviceman, of inciting security forces to mutiny and sabotaging infrastructure to cause nationwide blackouts. I need people to understand, especially Africans, since we are the richest. We should stop playing and have no, delusion that these parties can act in a certain manner in certain regions and act in a different manner in other regions, while the interests are still the same. And we excuse it by saying maybe it's just an opportunistic, maybe those people are weak, that's what they're saying, right? Maybe the Malians, maybe the Nigerians, maybe the Burkinabes are weak. That's why the French exploited them. But we are better, we have a hand on things. I'm gonna leave that here. Okay? I'm gonna also leave this here. Celebration of his birthday. That's the cake that he chose. Would you, on a personal level, trust this person? What would you do on a personal level? Right? Now looking back on everything that they have done, what would you do? That's the question I have. Right? Because it's quite easy for these Zionist Christians and other sects to back this up, right? As somewhat justified. Do unto others what you have them to do unto you. So take their shoes, take the Palestinian shoes, take the Syrians, and trust me, you would not have the same arrogance. You would not, unless you are incapable of doing so. That makes you less of a human, more of a machine. Because if you are not emotionally engaged, how then did you come to choose your favorite? If you have no emotional quotient. Lean tall, sprinty. Right? They want to have their cake and eat it. That's the saying goes, right? How can you be complaining, Tucker Carlson, how can you be complaining that there are people trying to replace you while you are not having babies intentionally because nobody's holding you back from having sex? Okay, let's begin with that notion over there. And of course, this whole situation here, right? This whole situation here. What happened? What do you think this will do? And believe me, it's not just you. If these services were brought to Africa, people would pick them up and it would be devastating. It would be devastating. And they would call it, of course, human rights or women empowerment. While it has the impact on the entire nation. Well, I know how this ends, brothers and sisters. Truly, right? This is all for the women to just kill and do whatever they want to set themselves free. But you know what is going to have them backsliding on this whole ordeal? When those contraceptives for men come around. Trust me, we're going to see reverse of trends like never before. Okay? Like never before. Right? Until that point reaches, then we're going to have a conversation. But now, they can call it whatever they want to call it. Human rights, women's health rights. But I call it murder. Okay? You tussle and hustle with that. Wow. Slaves and sex traffics and stuff. Man, the British went in and saved them. The same hands put Palestinian protesters in prison. The same hands. Like, no. One party is lying to themselves when it comes to the discussion of this matter. That's what I believe. And it's not me. You see the framing? How is it that zero tariffs on Africa has something to do with Trump? The hell? What's the connection? What is the connection? I'm trying to find it. This is how they create strife and create this competitive mind that is useless, basically, at this particular point in human history. It is useless. Competing to what end? Prestige? Is that what we are living for now? Are we that pathetic? With all that is going around and people are still chasing prestige and titles and, like, seriously. Right? The priorities are backwards. This has nothing to do with Trump. Trump has the will and the ability to do the same thing, to issue zero tariffs for goods coming from Africa. He has the ability to do that. And China would not do anything about it or say anything about it. Why? Because they call it a free market and stuff. You know why? Because it is a free market, emphasis on free. But they have to create this polarization. If you're not with Trump, then you are with Xi. If you're not with NATO, then you're with Russia. If you're not with this, then you're with... No. That's how you so-called elites think. That's not how a normal person down the road thinks. No. There are some fools that have bought into that ideology But it's just few of you. Now, is this the issue of them being savvy enough to rise up to the occasion, to rise up into these positions and to do and carry out their dark desires? Or I don't know. I don't know. So, if it's not the obvious worship, right? The thrusting at the wall, or I don't know, whatever. We have this whole deal here, right? We have this whole ordeal. They call it scarlet, but ritualistically, that's not scarlet. That is blood. And the evil eye, where do you think they get that? Egyptians. Protection against the evil eye. That's the Egyptian stuff. And of course, they believe they have the power to control fortune and misfortune. We are gods, right? And again, the framing of this, that's how I know they're going to ramp up attacks on Russia. The whole framing has been Russia, 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 and basically the Malian army is just over there, you know. It's just, I don't know, somewhere hiding in a bunker, you know. And Russia has been doing the opposite. It has been making it clear over and over, because they have been saying it over and over, over and over. It's the Russians only, it's the Russians, the Russians, the Russians. What are the French to do? Sponsor Kiev. And the bigger question is, since now we are coming to realization that a certain tribe is occupying everybody, who started the Russia-Ukraine war? People are slow. I already know the answer. I've already stated the answer. And why these people started that war. That war started in the so-called Middle East. That war of Ukraine and Russia started in the so-called Middle East. That revelation is going to come down the road slowly and surely. I'm just saying it now because it is obvious. How can you have the same people supporting both sides and this not being obvious to people? Like, it's crazy. The same people involved in the Middle East, so-called, are the same people involved in Russia, Ukraine. Right? Pitting Slavs against each other. But hey, what do I know? So Russia is the biggest problem to Western interests. And the last I heard, there were, I don't know, more than 700 drone attacks on Russia. Well, I've said my piece about what they should do. Been saying it for years. When this guy always comes out, he always has something, right? He's a showman. But anyway, the truth, not hypersonics, not the beast, is hidden, hiding behind religion, behind international politics, behind boundaries. And I have no better advice to you than to tear away this mask. All it requires is information. Why? Because they need to maintain their cover for whatever reason, dubious, I believe, or as per the record shows, consistently dubious. Right? So we shall see. So yeah, just a few updates that to give you a bird's eye view, right, of the so-called geopolitical storm that is reaching its crescendo, right? And we are seeing it, right? The move of the United States imposing sanctions on Chinese companies, right? The nerve. And trust me, a couple of days he'll come out and say, "Xi has agreed to everything demand that I had. We wanted to stop the war. We want to stop the war." Meanwhile, bragging about all the vessels that are headed to the United States to, like, you cannot be an obvious criminal like this. It's obvious what the Ukrainians are doing. It's not because of the orders coming from the EU. These are orders coming from the US. Why? Market dominance. How did the United States become a superpower in World War II? Retrospect. Not fighting directly and coming in at the end, having suffered less in every aspect. Human loss, financial loss, and then boom, they became a superpower. So what do you think they're doing now? Well, I can tell you what they're doing in my personal life and what they want from me. Just constant psychological operations, right? You know what they're using now? YouTube ads. YouTube ads. Right? They're saying all the usual things, you know. The potential is very high. You just need to move location. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure if I get out of Africa, I'll be able to, I don't know, realize my full potential, as you say. So you're willing to kill people over that? It's disturbing. It's disturbing, right? I'm not gonna say over and over again what they're actually doing. So that's where we are. And oh, they have a new weapon now. You know, what does it do? Well, when they hit you with this thing, your throat goes dry. Like, nigga, you just lost saliva. Like that, right? Within 2 seconds. And after that, you get this weird taste at the back of your tongue. Right? Talk about radiation. Like, sheesh. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. And I'm going to tell you how crazy it is. You might be late to the party to figure out, but hey, this is just a heads up. Right? So, anyway, I'm going to put a pin on it right there. It's easy. Signing out. Love you. Bye.